So today I want to talk to you about a training class that I just got through taking. Now I've taken this class before, and that is the street training course with Ken Condon of Riding in the Zone fame. Now if you haven't heard of Ken, well, look him up on the internet. He's the author of Riding in the Zone as well as Motorcycling the Right Way, and he wrote for publications like Motorcycle Consumer News and Motorcyclist Magazine about motorcycle safety issues. Now Ken has more than 40 years experience not only riding motorcycles on the street, on the track, and off-road, but also with training individuals in MSF courses, as well as with his street and track day trainings. So naturally, since he lives here in Massachusetts, he's the guy that I go to when I want to make sure that I'm doing things, well, the right way and that I stay in command of my motorcycle. Now this is my second time taking this class. The first time I did it was about 9 years ago on my Yamaha Super Tenere. And I went out there basically not knowing anything. So I was learning how to corner, right, how to trail brake, right, and do all of the things that, well, I thought I knew how to do, which turned out to be completely wrong. In fact, as I recall, Ken's comments to me after the class was, man, you started off, pretty sketchy. You were kind of jerky going into these corners and so forth. But by the end of the day, you had smoothed out. Like, well, that's what I was there for. I was there to, again, improve my riding and make sure that I learned how to do it the right way. This time, before we started our training sessions, Ken set us down and asked each of us in the class what we wanted to get out of it. And for me, basically, I wanted him to look at what I was doing and make sure that I was doing things the right way, and if there was anything that I could improve upon. I also told him that I probably haven't spent enough time, well, not probably, I know I haven't, in the parking lot with this big beast and learn how to handle it at slow speed maneuvers. I mean, I can get by, but I definitely need more work. And that's exactly where we started. First, Ken had each of us go out and make a few big circles around the parking lot. And that way he could get an idea of where each of us was. After that, we practiced some slow speed maneuvers, including just, the old slow ride technique, and then some U-turns, as well as a little follow the leader. For me, I gotta keep remembering, turn the head, turn the head. After about 30 or 45 minutes in the parking lot, well, it was time to hit the streets. And again, we started off by following Ken. And the nice thing about this class is that we are all in communication with each other. So Ken could get out in front and talk his way through each of these corners, telling us what he was doing, what the lane position was, what he was looking for in the corner, and when you should move over and try to find that exit or hit that apex. For me, during this follow the leader session, what I was trying to do was match Ken's lane position. I know he's going to set up wide, and then eventually he's going to move over and again hit that apex on the inside of the curve. That is, if it's safe to do so. So I was trying to make sure that I matched my position with his. Next, it was time for me to lead. This time, Ken was following. And along the way, he would ask me questions. What are you looking for? Where are you trying to be when you hit that apex? Right? And so that's what I was doing in this first session. Again, just kind of walking him through what I was trying to do. Because I had taken this class before and I've been practicing for the last 9 years, I was a little bit faster than the other guys. But Ken did a great job of emphasizing that we should all ride at our own speeds, right? This is not a competition, and it was not about really going fast. What it was about, right, was learning and, of course, executing what you've learned. Here's some video of Ken following one of the other guys in the class, and I think this is really instructive. Watch the lead rider's position versus where Ken, which is the second rider back, what his position is going through each of these turns, right? And the differences aren't always really big, but there is usually a small difference. And again, I'm not picking on this rider here. This was his first time taking the class, and honestly, I think he did better than I did the first time. But again, this is why we're taking this class. I mean, anybody can just stick to the middle of the road and slow down and make the curve. But that isn't necessarily the most efficient or the safest way to get through a corner, and it certainly isn't the most fun. I guess I should also point out that just having the biggest balls and pushing your bike down until sparks fly everywhere isn't the best way to get around a corner either. Along with these alternating sessions of following and leading, Ken would also stop us at specific locations and talk about how to take this corner, what to look for, and where you should be positioned. In this particular case, the corner was a little deceiving. Standing where we were at the bottom of the hill, I thought that the apex was, well, just around the corner looking at those trees. However, it turned out to be about 10 yards further up the road. And yep, that's pretty much where I wanted to be, on the inside of the curve, away from traffic and facing up the road. Another thing we did is to get on this particular twisty and fun section of road, and then Ken rode behind us and videotaped how we were doing. So here I'll let you listen in when Ken pointed out a little mistake I made.
Hey. These blind right-handers, this is where you have to trust your eyes. Could have turned in a little earlier that time, but kind of missed the apex.
So let's stop here and take a look at exactly what Ken was talking about. Here in this image, you can clearly see where my bike is positioned and where Ken's bike is positioned, slightly more inside on the curve than I am. Right where I am right now, well, that's just about the apex of the curve, and I should be over, well, probably about 2 feet or so. If we fast forward a little bit, we can see where Ken's bike is positioned right about where I was when I hit that apex. Being positioned where he is gives him a better view up the road so he can see any oncoming traffic and also where the next curve is going. Now, in the grand scheme of things, is this a big deal? Well, I mean, no, right? There are no apex police out there, and I did make it around the corner safely. But this is exactly why I came to take Ken's class again, because I want him to point out these small things so I can continue to improve. So here's another example of where I turned in just slightly early. You can see where my bike is. I'm starting to make my move towards where I think the apex is around the corner. And you can see where Ken's bike is, again, just slightly more to the outside than mine. Again here, look at where my bike is and look where Ken is. And finally, you can see now that I am right up against that center line. Ken, he has, well, a foot or so safety margin that I don't have. So what he did in this turn was basically stay to the outside for about a second longer than I did. So after the class was over, I asked Ken, how do I fix this? I mean, it's a good thing to read the road and look and get an idea of where that apex is going to be in your mind's eye. But rather than move directly towards where I think that apex is, I need to bring my gaze back to the outside of that corner. Make sure that I'm setting up properly. I look back and hold that line for, like I said, just a second or so longer before making my move to the apex. So that's what I'll be working on for the rest of this season and probably into the spring. So I know this is all pretty geeky stuff. I mean, who really cares about a foot this way or a foot that way? Well, look, I am 65 years old now. And for me, I want to keep riding well into my 70s and hopefully beyond. And I want good habits ingrained into my muscle memory so that I can ride safely and continue to have fun into those latter years. To finish off our day of training, we headed up to the highest point in Massachusetts, and that is Mount Greylock, where we used its tight, curvy, and hairpin-strewn roads to practice, of course, our lane position and a little downhill trail braking. Yeah, I blew that one a little bit. Should have been more to the inside. After running up and down Greylock a few times, we headed back to Ken's home turf in Ashfield, Massachusetts. There we sat down and he went over all of the video that he shot of each of us. And of course, talked about areas where we could all improve. It was great spending the day with Ken and the other guys in this class, and I know we all learned a ton. It is quite different taking it for the second time versus the first. The first time I took the class, of course, I'm learning so much that's new. And this time, well, I'm trying to refine those things as I described before. So it is quite a different experience. But both times I learned a ton, and I know that I've come out a better rider. As far as I'm concerned, taking a class like this from someone like Ken is definitely worth your time and the money that it costs. In the end, being a better, safer, and happier rider, enjoying that ride more, is well worth it. All right, guys, be safe out there and keep squeezing your lemon.